with you here once again on Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. I am Tom Clark, of course, joined by Jay Luft and Joe Higgens. We are here reviewing the show, something that we've been wanting to do. I had personally wanted to do for a while, and as the story went, I got Jay on board, who then got Joe on board, and here we are. We're doing this. We thank you for being along for the ride. Today we're reviewing episode 4. As you can see in the notes, this episode is entitled For the Children. Guys, before we get started, how are you feeling so far with the first 3 episodes, man? Are you having nostalgia, looking back? Is it coming back to you as we watch it? Are you anxious to keep watching it? What's that look like for you?
I'm enjoying it more this time round because, as we previously mentioned, like you find these little setups that they're doing and these little bits that the first time, because you don't know what's coming, you don't know what to be looking out for, but on the rewatches you kind of like, it is all there. Like they had a plan all along, and it makes it so much better that it is self-contained. Like I don't want any more Ted Lasso, like, because there's no more to tell. The story's been told.
Agreed.
And it's all there, and I think the more you watch it back, because it will be one of those things that I'd go back to time and time again, the more little things you will spot, and that's again to the writers and everybody involved in it. It genuinely feels like they were passionate about this, and it's really nice. I'm thoroughly enjoying this.
Same here. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, really, than what Joe's just said. Like, going back and knowing where the story's taking us and where we're going, you do notice, like, there's little things, like, peppered in, like, in the first episode with, like, all the stuff with, like, triangles and stuff like that. Obviously, will play a big part later on in the show. I know there's tons of stuff, and I think as well, like one thing we kind of touched on the first couple of episodes was that it's very much like a mirror image of itself. Like it gets that one convergence point in the middle, and then it mirrors itself, but in like going from like bad to good.
Yeah.
And you can certainly see that, like that there's something in this episode we're going to talk about in particular, which is very, very similar to something that happens in, I think it might be the last episode. And it just shows like that every character's kind of like sort of journey has a like very well plotted course.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. And by the way, kids, if you're hearing the dog, we're not taking it out. Where are the AFC Richmond games played, guys?
Should we kick a ball at you, shall we?
I'm not taking it out. Are you kidding me? That's a good luck charm right there.
Football is life.
The show's mascot.
Also death.
I can't wait to get it, Danny Rojas.
Danny Rojas.
I can't wait to get
I will say as well, I've just remembered something from the last episode that we didn't do. When they're doing the don't pass to Jamie thing, and Ted's like, I want you to sell it. And he does the pass to me thing, right?
I want you to win an ESPY for that.
When Jamie does it at the end, it's an exact mirror of what Ted does. It's beautifully.
Oh my God, you're right.
It just occurred to me now, thinking back about it, that it is. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there for the taking.
Jesus,
you've just got to pay attention.
Yeah.
My God, this show's effing great.
I think as well, because it's like such a short show, with it being like 3 seasons, it's too short for it to just kind of be like a bit of a nostalgia thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it like you look at TV shows that have been running for like God knows how long, and every now and again they'll bring back like a running joke, and it's more like just a kind of like nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, because as I say, it is like gets to a convergence point, and then it mirrors itself. It's just such a well told story.
I believe they said they had 3 seasons planned out when that was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
And I think they can throw as much money as they wanted it, but I think there is such love for the characters by the actors and stuff as well that no amount of money would make you do a big dump on top of what they have built.
I was all for a spinoff before we started the show. I don't think I am now.
I'd kind of like.
I'd watch it.
I'd kind of want Roy and Jamie. Roy gets like a manager position in Spain, and he takes Jamie with him, and like they don't speak the language, and like antics happen, but it would be more of like a fun comic relief style one-off thing.
Surely you'd have to get like a job in Amsterdam.
Oh damn, yeah. But but even like not as a series, just as like a one-off thing for children in need or something like that.
Like that Only Fools and Horses episode where they went like to Benidorm or wherever it was.
Well, again, using my knowledge of British comedy history, whenever a sitcom was in doubt, they would go on holiday to Spain.
Yeah, that's just what I like instantly when you said that instantly came to my head.
It just was a thing for so long.
Wow.
I believe like the Rising Damp film was partly in Spain. Like It Ain't Half Hot Mum, they all went to Spain. It's just it was just one of those things. But I'm gonna kill this dog. Go on.
Don't kill the mascot.
No,
that's a terrible idea.
Football is death.
Terrible idea. That's God, that pitching that now I want to see it. Damn it. How'd that happen? Now I want to see it. That's great. What a great idea.
I know the actor who plays Jamie is Phil Dunster. He did an interview straight after the last episode dropped, and he said the only way he'd come back is if it was him, Roy, and Nate were all like signed on. He was like, if those three are he was like, if those two are on, then I'd be back as well.
But it would change. It would be a different show with different dynamics because, again, Jamie and Roy are good. Nate is good. So, again, they're not perfect people if they were real. They're not perfect, but they're good now. They've all three faced their demons or faced their hangups and overcome them. So what's left? Now it would become maybe more about the cast of characters around those three.
Them passing on Ted's wisdom to other people.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It could work. I don't know.
As long as it's not like when Scrubs like finished and then they tried to do another season.
Don't. Although Thingy's in that and I do like her.
I'm a show of Friends, and that show ran 10 years. And the great thing about that show is the cast stuck together from the first to the last. They kept, like you said, running jokes. They pay it off for fans in the end. They always pay off. And they kept it together in the state of team. And nobody broke them up. So they were true to each other and true to the show and made it work. And also, honestly,
$1 million an episode will do that to you. Yeah.
That'll do it for sure. Yeah. I mean, and you know
Eliza
what?
Coop is the lady from Scrubs, the interns that I like.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, when they went and they got the money for the cast here for Friends, it's like, it's a lot of money, but I'll bet the network's making a whole lot more than that.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, good for them.
Biggest thing since Sliced Jesus, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. All right, kids, let's do this. Let's get into it. Can't wait to get into it. God, I enjoy this episode so much. I'm telling you.
I do.
As we were saying before we started recording, I looked on IMDb and this has like 3 and 4, 5-star ratings out of 10. And I don't understand why, because again, this is like a really good episode. They're all really good episodes. There isn't any of these that are like, well, I won't watch that one. But this one, I think, sets precedents for things as well.
It does.
It opens up people in ways that we haven't had so far. The whole thing is like, if they did this as just one film, like showed the whole thing without any cuts in it, I'd go and watch that because it's all there.
It's all there.
It's so good. It really is. I just don't understand that. Is it because there's no football in this episode?
Well, I mean,
no, I don't know why. The people.
The thing is, though, like charity galas and stuff like that are a very big part of like football. Like you always see on Sky Sports News, there'll always be like references to like charity dinners and shit like that.
Yeah, it's all. So it's not part and parcel.
It's part and parcel of the whole experience, for sure. I think it's really good because it feels like a genuine turning point,
and it takes them out of of Richmond. It takes them out of the ground. It puts them in a different, not massively different location, but it puts them somewhere else, and it's just a different beat. It's seeing them basically on a night out.
Yeah,
we've had 3 episodes of them playing football and in the football club. This is the first time we see them in downtime, essentially.
Yeah,
and yeah, I genuinely think it's one of the stronger episodes in terms of story writing.
I agree. I mean, if you imagine take a high school class out of high school and put them in an environment that's not school, those kids may not be the same people because they don't have the high school thing to deal with. But you take this team out of off the pitch and out of that locker room, and they're the same people that with the same hangups, with the same issues with each other, which shows you how deep seated a lot of this stuff is between these players, man.
Yeah.
So, you guys ready for this? Let's tackle.
Yeah.
Season 1, episode 4, title For the Children. Original air date August 21st, 2020. Directed by Tom Marshall. Story by Jamie Lee. 10 episodes in season 1, and man, we are chipping away at this. Believe that. We'll get there eventually. So when we left episode 3, we made some progress. We got Trent Krim on our side, or I should say Ted did. He got Trent. And here's some foreshadowing for you. We're going to get somebody else in this episode. I'd say I call it a win for Team Lasso. We get Trent. Absolutely. We got Trent, and we're going to get somebody else here. And that's all I'm going to tell you. We open at halftime of a game. Sam's apologizing to Jamie for not being there for him during a play. We kick this episode off with a terrible effing insult.
Sorry, it's just when Roy comes in, he goes 2-0 down. We're better than that. And it's like, it sets the scene immediately.
It does.
With just that dialogue. It's like, it's their 3rd match they've had, and they're getting battered.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
The joke
Jamie's insult.
Jamie tells him to get him a time machine, go back to the moment. I'm not going to repeat all this because it's freaking brutal.
It's gross. Yeah,
it is. Oh,
but he basically insults Sam's entire lineage.
Yeah. But the thing is though with that is that it shows how much Roy's grown since the last episode immediately.
Yeah,
like it pays off all the legwork that it's done with Roy in that last episode by Roy saying, "Why'd you have to be horrible to everybody?"
Yeah.
Again, because there's only 37 episodes. There's no wasted motion. There's no 2 episodes while we think about what he said. It's bam, straight into it. Lesson learned. Move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they square up to each other. Basically, Roy and Jamie. Yeah, Jamie keeps calling him old. Roy keeps calling him a prick. Jamie's like, I'm either gonna have to beat an old man up or let an old man beat me up. And they stand there and he goes, come on then. And it's such a Salford thing. Like the square heads butting at each other. It's such a I don't want to do swears that aren't from the show, but it's such a knobhead thing.
Yeah.
It's such like we've all Jay, you've seen it, like lads outside pubs.
Oh yeah.
Giving it the big I am.
Yeah.
It's
very much like a lad who's like only been out with his mates a couple of times for a few beers before.
Knowing that
he thinks he can take on the world. Yeah.
Because of who he is.
What's great is when Ted and Beard comes out, because he goes, whoa. He says, Beard, he said, Coach, tell the boys what my first rule of Fight Club is. And Beard
screams,
yes, no Fight Club. He's like,
no
really?
Fight Club.
Yeah. I can't put over how much he is. He looks worried. You know what I mean?
This isn't the first time they've been down this path, though, is it? Like,
oh my God, it was so good.
And he's just like, you need to get on the same page. Like, and he goes, all right, well, Jamie walks away and he's all right, old man. And Roy, because he knows what he's doing, Jamie. Like, he knows that Roy's like paranoid about his age and that. And he called me old again. And he goes, all right, Granddad. And then it all breaks down. Like, and it's, hey! And they all just, and then we get credits. But it shows that maybe everything isn't so hunky-dory. Like, yeah. Roy's learning. Jamie's learned nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No.
He's the last nut to crack, isn't he, Jay? Wasn't he the last nut to crack on this team? I think.
I think with Jamie, obviously, he has to kind of like lose everything to then start coming around. And even then, like he comes around so like it's such a long journey he takes to come around to Ted's way.
But is it? Because like in I think either the next episode or the one after, the one with the ghost when Danny Rojas is introduced, Jamie shows up. Like he doesn't want to, but he shows up and he sort of bears his heart a bit. But because Rebecca is still in self-destruct mode, she sends him back to spoilers for what's coming up ahead, but it needs to be said to reiterate the point. I think he was coming around to it, but then
he was coming around.
He goes off and does all that stuff and starts buying into his own hype again because he's got people around him who are like, "Well, you're Jamie Tart, you can do what you want." And Ted was getting there, I think.
Yeah, but that's something that will be interesting, like to see what happens after the show had ended, because obviously there's the conversation Jamie has at the very end with a certain someone, which we'll get to when we get to the last episode.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he then grows from that. But yeah, it's it is very much like Jamie's like the other kind of like combustible element that like to what Rebecca is with the whole trying to like destroy the club. Jamie's just as much a combustible element.
Go on.
At this point.
I mean, he's doing as much damage as she could do, honestly.
He's literally like a stick of dynamite in the middle of the team.
Yeah. Well, from that scene, we go to Rebecca planning the gala, as we mentioned before. It's a team's annual charity benefit gala. Higgins realizes he's going to be sitting at the boring table, which is
Table 4.
Table 4, a cute little bit.
Table 4, which again is a little runner that runs throughout the episode. But yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
Rebecca realizes she hasn't placed Elaine Kenner, who she calls an awful woman. Higgins says, "Oh, she won't be coming. She was kicked in the face by her horse." Rebecca goes, "Oh, that poor thing. Is the horse okay?"
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's a classic misdirect joke, but yeah,
it is.
It's a good one because she delivers it like kind of deadpan, but like she's laughing at her own joke in her head.
So good.
Rebecca's fantastic in this episode.
She is. This is hers. This is so good.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I think her and Keeley are the two like best characters in this episode for sure.
But we do get a bit of Roy and Jamie growth as well.
We do.
And we get a bit of Beard, and we get some
everyone
Beard. And some Nate.
Yeah. There's a tiny little thing with Sam as well, which we'll get to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which I thought was really nice.
Ted, Beard, and Nate are on the pitch, and Ted observes the team is divided. He's thinking West Side Story, Sharks and Jets. Think these fellas can solve their problems with a dance-off at the gymnasium? He mentions Riff and Bernardo getting knifed to death at that event, and Nate says, no, they didn't die till the Rumble afterwards.
Yep.
And Nathan says he was 15. He was understudy for Anita at an all-boys school.
It's just weird little bits that you go, yeah, that fits in with Nate, though. Like,
yeah, big time.
An all-boys school, you can see why he's so browbeaten. Like, he's just so...
Yeah.
Because if you're going to show weakness amongst a bunch of lads, like, it's literally what he's doing now. He works with a bunch of other men.
He's gone from an all-boys school
to that.
He does...
man.
It's like if you go to an all-boys school, like, and then you leave school, and it's like kind of like a breath of fresh air, because like you don't have to deal with that shit anymore. And he's literally left school and gone to this, and he's literally just carried on the cycle.
Put himself right back in the same environment. Yeah.
Nate's so broken. I kind of feel more appreciative of Nate now. Like, because he got his moment to shine, and oh wow.
He lost me later with that little heel turn. Spoiler alert, but he lost me.
But you understand it now. You understand it. People blowing smoke at your ass. You'll.
It took me a while to come around. What was great was that Ted says we've peeled yet another juicy layer off the Nathan onion, which is good. Rebecca's yelling out the window of her office at Beard, which is so good because everyone's like,
great because
turning around.
We've never seen her interact with the team up to
never,
this point.
not one time.
But she's screaming out the window, like full lungs. Coach Beard, it's chicken or steak. You can't tick both boxes, right? And Beard's like, well, tried it. And Ted goes, busted.
Yeah.
Like,
I love when she like says, Ted, I'm gonna +1, and he goes, oh well, Beard can be mine, and she's like, you can't have two things.
I'm gonna invite Mr. Double Entrees here.
Yeah,
it's I'll bring Nathan then, and Nathan genuinely the look of joy on his face. That like
it's as well though, where Rebecca goes, who?
Yeah. Nate the Great.
Nate the
Great's going to be my date, and for obvious reasons, they like to have a table at 8.
Table for 8.
It's great.
Oh, it's but Nathan looks genuinely like Ted wants to spend time with him.
Yeah,
and it is one of those beautiful things.
That's great.
I said my notes for these ones are sketchy.
Isn't it where Rebecca's then looking at the dresses?
Yes.
Yeah. And Ted basically like says, can Roy and Jamie be on the same table?
But also he comes in and she's going, oh, this is lovely, but I can't wear that anymore.
Can't pull it off. Yeah.
And he says fashion is 100% confidence.
Says if
and then he starts
the story
about pajamas. Pajama Friday, he says.
Yes.
I got a story there to tell you. And she's like, she's got no time for Ted's antics today.
It's great.
I love as well as like a little callback to this scene later in the episode. And I didn't realize how important it was until we're talking about it now. Where like she says, oh yeah, I couldn't pull that off anymore. Like as if to say it's like too like youthful a dress, and then when Rupert sees she's wearing it later, and he goes, it's a bit youthful for you, isn't it?
Man.
And it's like literally he's like zeroed in on that insecurity immediately.
Yeah.
Well, we have that, when in Rebecca's little licorice she does. But Ted still tells the story about how he went to prom in his pajamas and ended up in prison.
Yeah.
Or he tries to, but then he
tries to.
He gives us that, and then he just goes, but you don't want to hear about that, do you?
Yeah.
You don't want to hear about that, so I can't fill in the blanks.
Well, he wants basically like the top lads from the team on his table because he's trying to mend fences.
Yeah, that's what he says.
And then there's another little homespun bit of wisdom there that I can't remember that he says.
Well, Higgins comes in and tells her that Robbie Williams has canceled on the event.
And Ted goes, oh no, who's that?
Yeah. Yeah, who's that?
Which is a very British thing because Robbie Williams never got to America, did he?
Is that true?
Do you know who Robbie Williams is?
Did get to America.
I can't say that I've sat here and listened to his. I've heard bits and pieces. I know his name and I'm familiar. That's as much as I've got for you. Yeah.
So Robbie Williams did get to America, but he does like there's like a filmmaker who does like documentaries on aliens and like other like cryptids and stuff like that. And Robbie Williams, for some reason, is his co-host.
Okay.
I never understood why. I just remember like throwing it on because it was there was nothing else on TV one night. Just throwing this documentary on.
I guess we all need money, but
yeah, mate, he doesn't even do it for the money. I think he funds it.
Oh man, if he's using his take that money to fund this nonsense.
So yeah, we'll give Tom like a quick
a quick breakdown of. So Robbie Williams was born in Stoke-on-Trent, I believe. Joined the boy band Take That, one of the biggest UK boy bands in the boy band boom of the 90s.
I knew that, but I couldn't remember the name. So I'm with you.
It's fine.
The most famous thing they've done was that song on Stardust, which got
that wasn't even with Robbie Williams though. He'd left
it wasn't,
by that point. That's when they reformed.
I know, but just take that in general. Like I'd say that the most like globally famous thing they've done would have been
possibly there might have been like they covered Could It Be Magic by Barry Manilow and stuff but they never broke America. They were purely like European thing, possibly Japan because Japan's mental stuff like that. He left. They set up like suicide hotlines for teenage girls, like genuinely.
It was a weird time.
It was a big, it was a weird time.
It was an odd time in our country.
It was a bit, it's not worse than it is now. But it was a big thing. Robbie leaving, and he went away. Started hanging out with like the Gallaghers and got all fat. Did some drugs. Tried to like rebrand himself as edgy. Came back with a cover of Freedom by George Michael, I believe.
Did he?
Yeah. That's the first thing I remember him on. But he was always referred to as like the fat dancer from Take That. And then had like quite a successful solo career with Angels and Let Me Entertain You. Let Me Entertain You must have been played at an American sports game at some point. It's one
he got over here. He got over, to use a pro wrestling term. He got over in the States. But again, and look, not for nothing. If he had been a rock guy, I would probably know him. I'm just not a pop music guy. I'm just not a pop music guy. You know what I mean?
He did do that like Sinatra album as well, didn't he?
Oh, he did Swing When You're Winning. Yeah. Like that weird bit where everyone was doing like crooner covers.
Yeah, it was just like an album of like Sinatra covers. It was weird.
And he did, is it Something Stupid with Nicole Kidman as well? Yeah. I think on that album.
Also, the song that plays at the end is one of his songs.
At the end is his.
It's Robbie Williams and Kylie Minogue singing Kids.
Absolute, knobhead of a lad. I hate him because he's everything I hate about him.
Well, he keeps shitty company because Rupert's a friend of his, so he keeps shitty company. I'm just saying. We'll find that out later.
But yeah, he's cancelled, and Rebecca just literally says to him, well, I'm not going to worry about that because you're going to worry about that, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm on the job, right? And he flips the phone and damn near he calls himself a world-class problem solver. He's like flipping the phone around and,
I love the way when he eventually catches it, and Ted looks dead proud of him.
Ted goes, well done.
And when he walks out, Ted yells after him and said, Rebecca's grateful for all your hard work. That's so good.
He's having to speak for her because she will never say it.
Never say it.
Although she does later on, like he becomes less. He becomes less of like a crony and more of like a right hand to her.
Oh, but then there's a burn coming up, isn't there? Yeah.
The relationships that are screwed up eventually get repaired or they end. But the show takes care of a lot of problems because that's what life is a series of problems and then you die. Good night, everybody. Yep. So, no. What a terrible thing.
Yeah, so from this, it's the red carpet, right?
First we see Jamie trying on the suit. Yeah.
Trying on the suit, and he's like, there's no zip. It's not me. It's not me, babe. There's no hood.
There's
no
no
zips,
graffiti.
There's no graffiti. No graffiti. And
Yeah,
she's like, if you embraced high fashion as a footballer, you would get a lot more. Because we're sowing the seeds for Keeley doing branding or whatever, PR, yeah, at this point. But he takes the shirt off, puts the jacket over the top, and he's like, yeah, this is me. And it's like the dumbest thing, but also it's the most Jamie thing.
Yeah.
He says, I'm good at this fashion shit. I'm a progeny. And she never, you know what? She never really, she could make him feel stupid, but she never really does.
She just kind of like rolls her eyes and then just goes like, yeah, just eat me out.
We get only the second inclination that Ted has issues on the home front. Maybe only the second inclination, or the only second sign. And
it's such a kind of like innocent one as well, because it's almost like the way he kind of like goes to it. If it wasn't for the fact that he goes to say I love you and then he stops himself, you wouldn't know. Like it's literally, he's kind of like, oh yeah, we're like passing chips in the night, we're missing each other all the time. You leave me a message, I leave you a message. We'll get there eventually. Yeah. And he goes to say something, then he goes say I love you, and he stops, and then doesn't he say something like I miss you or something like that, or
he says he goes to say I love you because I miss you.
Yeah.
I miss you. Yeah.
Instead, yeah. And you know, Bob Newhart made a whole career out of a bit with a phone on stage.
Yeah.
Well, you know, some of the funniest.
I love Bob Newhart.
Oh, dude, he's hilarious. It's some of the funniest bits I've ever heard in my life. And the audience is sitting there. You never hear the other person, but in your head, you're creating that person's voice by the way Bob is reacting. So you do it here too. You can imagine her voicemail or whatever, and then he, starts leaving his own.
But he is walking down to go and meet Nate outside the little Diagon alley that he lives in, and
along this street that actually exists with apartments that are actually there.
Yeah.
Because didn't we have a question earlier? Is that a real place?
We in the first or second episode.
Yeah.
It is in. Apparently, it is in Richmond. Like I looked it up, and it is in Richmond.
Nice.
It must be crammed full of tourists now.
That
pub must do a roaring trade.
Oh my God! People must get pictures of themselves in there. You know what I mean?
Yep. Because I'm kind of contemplating next time I go to London searching it out, just for and then we can put them on. Thingy.
So the pub is on Airbnb.
Of course it is.
You can stay above the pub on Airbnb. Bear with me.
Because we got all in, mate.
Oh.
And I just got double pay for work this month.
Don't you threaten me with a good time.
Don't you threaten me with a good. That's good.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's actually brilliant. It's. I don't think it's real, because the person hosting it is actually May.
Right, so that's not real then, is it?
Here's the thing. It's on the Airbnb app.
Oh, interesting.
So
I'm not sending money to some person who may or may not exist, and then we have to spend a night in a car park.
That's fair.
Moving on.
Also, it is in Richmond.
Yeah, I said it was in Richmond, which I didn't think. I think I said it was in Oxford. Or something.
That whole area looks like it's
very picturesque.
Yeah.
Well, here's something else we're planting seeds for later. We get our second look at Cam Cole. He's again outside. He's again playing. Ted throws some money in his guitar case, and that's when he meets Nate on the street. Ted, do you appreciate it when somebody tell you have food in your teeth? And he says, yes. Well, then good, because that suit doesn't fit at all.
That suit doesn't fit.
I love the way, though, immediately goes, like, because Nate's like, oh, yeah, I was going to get a suit, but it was
so expensive.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd wear my pants. But it's the fact that he puts the money in Cam Cole's, and he goes, a troubadour. It's just a good word.
Yes. It's good. It's good word, yeah.
God bless Nate, because he's like, I wanted to show up early, but I thought I best arrived late, so I just aimed for in the middle, and he went, "Yeah, that's the right time to show up."
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's just Ted. He's like putting him at because he knows that Nate's incredibly nervous and just putting him at ease with it.
It's true.
But it's never said, but I assume Ted's bought that suit for him.
I think so.
It's never said or even implied.
It's never said. Nate never even thinks
just. Ted definitely bought that suit for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we found out in the Trent Krim episode, I'm supposed to get paid. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great line.
Are you just here for the money? It's one of those things like it's not about the money for Ted.
No. And you imagine, I mean, I don't know, going from coaching a college football team to coaching a professional soccer team, even if he got the low end of the spectrum, I'm sure he's probably getting paid much better than he was in the States. You'd have to imagine. I mean,
Premier League managers get paid stupid money.
Yeah,
there you go.
I don't know how much college
obscene money.
Wow.
So,
but again, I'm assuming he's splitting that money with Beard as well.
I don't know.
Possibly.
No,
Would Beard be getting paid as well?
Beard will be getting paid as well. So
you don't normally get a manager and then like a sub manager, do you?
Oh,
you get like an
I don't. Again, I'm saying this like I speak from a point of confidence, but I know nothing.
Yeah, so normally when like a club hires a manager, they'll hire the manager and then they'll give the manager the option to bring in their staff or not, or stick with who's there. So obviously, Ted bringing Coach Beard is Ted bringing his staff. And but he'll probably be on good money. I mean, they kind of try and sell that Richmond's like a smaller club, don't they? But
as we discussed earlier on in the previous episode, the ground is not a Premiership ground.
No, it's not even a Championship ground. And
no,
the fact that as well, like they get relegated to the Championship, like the Championship can get more money than the like Premier League can in some games. So it'll be on a decent.
It'll be on a wedge, yeah.
So I've just found the price of how much to stay in the
Go
pub.
on.
You're not going to believe me. So it's set. There's 3 nights in October that you can stay. The 23rd, 24th, or 25th. £11 a night.
Nah, mate, that's
for one night. Right. Can't be right.
This is like literally like the article. The headline of the article is "Stay at the pub from Ted Lasso for under $15."
Yeah, but it's going to be sleeping in a room full of other sweaty Ted Lasso fans.
No, it's a room of 4 people.
No.
And then there's like a themed thing where it's got like the Believe thing on the wall and you get a Richmond scarf.
Send me the link. I'll
send you the link. I'll put the link.
It might be worth a jaunt down and a double booking in a Premier Inn nearby.
It's well, it sounds like it's
as most sensible backup. Yeah,
right.
It sounds like it's sponsored, like a sponsored thing. The way it is.
Stop making me want to do it, because
you get a virtual greeting from Annette Badland.
Man,
as a hologram.
It's a hologram.
Like on a
it's not a hologram. It'll be an iPad. Won't it?
It'll be an iPad, yeah.
With her going, "Welcome to hell."
It'll be a cardboard cutout with someone standing behind her going, "Hello, welcome."
With a rubber band for a mouth, like in old Superman cartoons. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. There's multiple articles that are saying
back to the show we're supposed to be reviewing. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. I got excited about staying in the Crown and Anchor.
I'm kind of on board, mate. And yeah, for £22, it's worth the punt, isn't it, really?
Oh my God.
Yeah. But
get to the red carpet.
This is when we cut to the red carpet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this shows like all the lads on the team are just children.
Yes.
So this was the bit where I think you first see the impact that Ted has had on Sam. Because Sam stops and says, "Thank you all for taking my picture," and asks all the photographers their names.
I just think that was just Sam in general.
That could have been Sam in general.
It could have been, but also
as confidence to say that to them.
Yeah, like
yeah.
Well, even the fact that that's what Ted would do. That's exactly what Ted would do in that situation, and you don't see Ted get his picture taken. I don't think, do you?
Didn't Ted do that during his first press conference in episode 1?
Yeah, he asks them all the names.
He did.
I love this show. He did, yes.
Oh,
but like Isaac goes through and he's like doing stuff.
Yeah.
And like Colin's like, "Oh, you like the suit?" And like they're just children with no direction at this point, aren't they?
Jamie's there. Jamie's like left eyebrow, right
left
eyebrow. Now look confused.
Confused look. The confused look. Oh man, it's brilliant. And Keeley's off to the side, and then she comes out, and then all the bulbs start flashing because it's Keeley. Huge. Like,
and
she looks across and she sees Rebecca, and Rebecca is trepidatious about having to do this on her own.
Rebecca like rushes her along because she just wants to get it over with, and like Keeley walks off and then comes back because she sees how uncomfortable she is. Yeah. Just gives her a little pep talk, like just do this and it'll make you look amazing.
Stand like this, but make a claw because it's the most flattering. Hand on the hip, and then this is the loveliest bit, I think. Keeley runs round the back of the paparazzi and goes, "She's fucking fit!" Like,
great.
And the fact that like Rebecca hears it and smiles, and it relaxes her knowing that someone's got her back. Like someone, maybe not a friend, but like someone cares.
I think it's someone who wants to be a friend, and obviously she's still at that point where she doesn't trust anybody, and she's got the walls up. But then Keeley's like the most relatable person she seems to have come across. And
go ahead.
I was going to say, and she's almost like she's almost like going, okay, well, I can relate to her because of like she understood what I was going through with the whole media circus thing. And it's very like, I'm trying to think what the best phrasing for this would be. Almost like the sort of kindred spirits through like a traumatic experience.
There's an odd synergy about them.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. She's letting her defenses down little by little by little. You see casual breakdown.
It's just Keeley yelling, "She fits." Is that an American term?
What is it?
Fit to mean like attractive.
She's fit, which means she's in great shape. She's physically fit.
Oh no! It doesn't mean that. It means attractive. It means like.
Yeah, that's an English thing, that one.
Oh, is it? Okay, all right.
Yeah, fit's like good looking.
Good looking, yeah.
Nice.
And we end up inside this hellscape.
It is.
It's the worst thing.
It
I
is.
had to do these when I worked for the brewery. Oh man, it's awful. These corporate sort of evenings, where you've got to sit there and someone will come out and do some terrible jokes, and you've got to sit there and take it and eat terrible food. It's always the worst food.
It's never like it always comes across like it should be really fancy and stuff, and it's never good, is it?
No, because they've skimped out on everything. But Ted is sat there on the table with most of the team and Nate, and we get the line, and I've written this down because it made me laugh. You two knuckleheads have split our locker room in half, and when it comes to locker rooms, I like them like my mother's bathing suit. I want them in one piece.
That's good. That's a great line.
And it's just like
Roy's reaction to that's fantastic as well.
Well, there are those moments where no one understands what Ted's going on about.
Says you don't need to be best friends and great teammates. Look at Shaq and Kobe, Lennon McCartney, even Woody and Buzz got it under each other's plastic. Nate says, wasn't Woody made out of cloth? I appreciate you, Nate, but now's not the time. That was so good. A very quick.
Woody's head, hands, and feet were made of plastic, so Nate's technically correct there, but yeah.
Technically correct.
There was a little bit before this as well, I just wanted to touch on, where it's when Ted says hello to Rebecca, and Nate's got the new suit on, and like he's more confident, and he goes, "It's lovely to meet you again." And she replies, "It's lovely to meet you." And you just see his head drop, but then it's like he's wearing the nice suit, and people are noticing him now. It's another step in.
I think it's when they're walking in as well, and he's going,
and
"Don't strut, let the suit do the work."
Yeah, don't strut, Nate. Yeah. She doesn't recognize him. She doesn't recognize him.
No, because it's someone who's beneath her. It's someone who's beneath the stage. She doesn't care about the team. Like, it's
very true.
As soon as he's wearing the suit, she actually like takes notice of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
in the midst of this, we also meet Jane for the first time. Her name is Jane Payne. That's her character's name, played by Phoebe Walsh. Phoebe's actually a writer on the show. So there you go.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
she's essentially a non-character because she kind of. I think this is the only time we see her, isn't it?
I think we see her later, but I think we hear more about her than we see her in the end.
She's kind of a Captain Mandarin's wife style situation where we hear more about her than we actually see her. Yeah.
Ted tells Nate the beard and
like
Jane
Maris the Beard's Niles.
Yes. To use an American term. Yeah.
No, sorry, I just wanted to shoehorn Fraser in there somehow.
I'm going to go with Dad's Army any day of the week, son.
Perfectly fine.
But they're like Ted's kind of like, are you okay with this? And he's like, yeah. Beard's fine with it. And they start playing. I know that's later on. They start playing like brain chess.
They're playing chess. Yeah, they're just walking around playing chess.
Well, Ted like goes to get beers to like break the ice, doesn't he? Between
he says,
this is far too tense.
This is either going to make it worse or 100 times better. Who wants a drink?
Yeah,
and they all raise their hands. That's great, man. He says, we got to find some common ground. Yeah. Ted throws it to Jamie, then passes it back to Roy because he's trying to get them to say, what they don't like about each other and then what they do like about each other or whatever. And it's like, they're not quite ready yet, guys. They're not quite ready to get there. Well, they'll get there.
Yeah. Keeley tries to break the ice, and she by like saying, Nate, that's a really nice suit.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate tries to do like a Tedism and he comes across as like a creep.
It's my second suit apart from when I was the naked baby.
Yeah.
And everyone looks at him like someone's just made some spaghetti appear on the table. It's just such a weird thing to say. And he goes,
when Ted like tries to fix it, going, I see what you meant there. You meant your birthday suit, and everyone just laughs. It's like, oh, nice.
Yeah, they got it then. Yeah. So Higgins is still trying to find a replacement for the music. Ted walks up to an obviously nervous Rebecca and tells her to make fun of herself right off the bat. Just a little joke. She says, "Well, what should I say? What do I say then?" And she keeps waiting. And Ted's like, "What?" And she's like, "You're not going to walk into this, are you?" And he's like, "Nope." And then he walks off.
It's a really good Ted bit though, because he's like, you can see him going, "This, no, this, no, not that, no." And it's really well acted. And I don't know how they wrote that in the script for them to be like, Ted flounders. I assume is what it would be.
I like that.
Yeah. But then he walks off and he goes, "No, not that either."
Yeah.
But he gives her that's Ted's mechanism, is the disarming mechanism of make fun of yourself.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's all he's ever done is like,
self-deprecating.
Yeah, humble himself because he's the same as you and me.
He doesn't. He's not like Trent wrote about him. He's no ego, zero ego on this guy. Zero. Not even as a man, honestly. I'm not saying he's a wimp or anything, but he doesn't really have an ego that a man would have. Like, he's just a regular person. Yeah, for sure.
He wants people to like him more than fear him.
Yes.
Which I think is what Rebecca's whole thing is at this point. Hence the shithead on the, it's talking down to people.
Well, we need to say also that this entire event used to be Rupert's event. That he spearheaded the thing. He was in charge. He did the bid, the auctions. He did everything.
He didn't, did he? That's the thing. He'd show up and steal all the glory.
Yeah, she said, didn't she?
That's
Like,
right.
Even when me and Rupert used to run it together, I used to organize it all.
That's it. You're right. Yeah.
And then he'd be like the sort of like knight in shining armor as the host,
the hero. Yeah.
And
she takes the stage to start her speech, and she takes Ted's advice, which is great. Said that if she could, she'd come out and hug all of them, but she's not a hugger. Everybody knows I'm not a hugger, and that was great.
It's not a great joke, but
broke the ice.
It breaks, like I said, it breaks the ice. It puts everyone in a relaxed mode. But then, swear,
Rupert.
But
I don't care.
Rupert, mate. The first time we see him, and automatically I was like, Giles, how far you've fallen.
So what are you referring to? Another role? Who was he before?
He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was Giles the librarian in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of things, to be fair. He's a very reputable actor as Anthony Head.
His brother sang One Night in Bangkok in the musical Chess.
I did not know.
I didn't until I had to perform it in college for a performance.
In the style of Anthony Head's brother.
Yeah. That's what we went for. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is him. By the way, you're right. That is him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's in all kinds.
He was the Prime Minister of Britain in Little Britain. He was in. He came to prominence for dehydrated coffee adverts in Britain for, I want to say, Gold Blend.
Did he? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, it was. Yeah, it's not important. I think it's before your time, Jay. It's before my time, but I lived.
It might have been
1,000 lives at once. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this: he deserves every award he could possibly win because you fucking hate him the moment he shows up.
As soon as he stands up,
a tremendous actor.
As soon as he stands up at the back and he's like, "I'm here," you see Rebecca's face, and you see her revert back to being like a tiny woman.
Yep.
And also, you see how sort of lecherous and creepy he really is.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a slime ball.
Just straight from that one stand-up though, when he talks her down. Sorry, I know I've just done that to you, Jay, and I apologize.
No, sorry.
But it is that thing of he undermines her.
Yeah.
Every opportunity, and it's awful to see because I've grown to love Rebecca because like I understand what she's going through.
Yeah.
But then this, for him to arrive, is, and he's like, and everyone's like, great, Rupert's here, and clapping.
They love him. And like,
they don't.
I was gonna say, you're totally right. You're totally right that he completely changes her. And like, this is off topic, by the way, but this just hit me. There's a movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart. Name it. There's 100 of them. But like the one where Rock used to be a fat kid in high school.
Rush Hour.
Not Rush Hour. Is that always an American? Let's get him with a typical American flick.
No.
It's just Joe guessing a film.
Oh, I see. The Terminator. No, that's not it. I can't remember, but like,
it's because it's Rush Hour is can they coexist, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
But like,
if you have to explain the joke, Joseph, it's not funny.
I know, right? No, it's fine. But he was a fat kid in high school, and then Kevin Hart was the only kid that ever took up for him. So later on, of course, Rock's the Rock, and he's like this. By the way, the movie's horrible. Don't watch it. It's not very good at all.
Stinker.
Oh, it's not good. But there's a scene where he meets up with his bully, who is Jason Bateman, Jason Bateman's a king. You know that. This guy's awesome. but he's insulting him to his face. And so Kevin's like, get him. And instead of doing anything, he just sits and he slumps and he looks in his reflection in the mirror, and he's that fat kid from high school. And I'm like, this movie's so bad, but that was beautiful. Like in one moment, that guy had such an impact on him.
I mean, not wanting to get into it, but as a child who was hideously bullied in school because my mum cut my hair until I was like 16.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then at 16, I owned it and just like, yeah, my mum cuts. You find your own way, whatever. But when I see certain people now, I'm a fairly confident, well-adjusted man. But when I still see certain people, it still takes me back to those moments because they are those defining moments of your life. And like in Rebecca's soliloquy later on, she explains the kind of person Rupert is, and it fucking hurts.
Big time.
It really does. Again, I'm sorry to swear, but it's one of those things that really, really hits home for people who have had to go through like horrible things.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, when he takes the stage, it's bad. And she has to, in front of people, and even in front of nobody, she always keeps the brave face as if he's not affecting her in the slightest.
You got to keep that painted face on, haven't you?
Well,
and
she does an okay job at kind of controlling the situation at first. Like while all the eyes are on her, like you can tell she's rattled, but like obviously she goes, "Oh, well, you RSVP'd? No, why are you here?" But then she's like, "What a lovely surprise!"
Yeah,
and
it's all a work. It's all a fun thing.
Yeah.
It's all a fun thing.
And she puts him on the boring table.
She does go table 4, the boring. She goes put you on the boring table, and he goes, "Oh, it's like that, is it?" And she goes, "No, table 4. But we already know table 4 is the boring table. You see, that's the runner through it. So she's still getting a little digs in there, but yeah, this is one of those really horrible, awkward bits that I was like, this is a good episode because it shows Rebecca's frailty. We've only ever seen her as like this maniacal sort of, leader at this point.
You get glimpses of it, don't you? But you never see it as like as
so
exposed as this.
Yeah.
For sure. I on my notes when Rupert walked in, I just put Rupert as a prick.
Yeah,
he is.
That's it. We could have just said that and saved 20 minutes, mate.
That's like literally all I could like. I was trying to write something profound, and that's all I could think.
So
I was just like, oh, he's such a prick.
He's just so slimy and obnoxious, but these people eat it up. Because it's Rupert, isn't it? And we've already had like the discussion of, I think when Keeley is looking at Rebecca's nude photograph, Rebecca says, "Well, the men are never at fault, are they? The press never go after the men."
Well,
it's all.
What's interesting is obviously what Ted says to Rebecca at the very end of the episode, and it's almost like everyone's just pandering to him as opposed to actually liking him. It's more because he's rich and powerful that they're all kissing his ass.
There are scenes of that in this where we kind of see that he just has hangers on. He doesn't have friends.
Yeah, like when he's like hanging around the players and trying to be Billy Big Bollocks to Ted at one point, and he like talks to him in the American accent, and then Ted just goes, and then Ted just goes, "Oh, it's funny you're friends with Robbie Williams." Now you could just as easily have just texted him and getting me to play messenger. Or you could have texted him and said, "Don't." And Rupert just kind of like grins because it's obvious what he's done.
Well, he actually says, "Well, that would make me an absolute piece of shit, wouldn't it?"
And Ted just not nods, but he just looks at him as if to go, "Well, yeah."
It's when we first meet him and we see Ted as well. Like Ted's got him scoped from day one.
Oh,
Ted knows what he is and what he's done, and the fact that he'll go and do it again and again.
And as we find out later, because we don't know yet, Ted was essentially raised by a woman.
Yeah.
Not for all his life, but I don't remember what age it was he loses his dad. But I'm telling you, I lost my dad at a very young age So as a result of that, the man I am, I could, not anybody can if you have enough heart, but like I see where he's coming from when he tells her. Everybody thinks you think that no one sees. I know, I see, because you can see from a female perspective. This guy's a piece of shit, like 100%. You know what I mean?
Well, what's interesting is that Rupert, when they're talking, like after Rebecca's come off stage, and Rebecca's talking about like the whole, well, just everything, and he brings up Ted, like the team and Ted's form, and Ted says something like, "Well, I think the boss has got faith," and then she doesn't say, and he goes, "This is the part where you need to tell me, otherwise it's gonna get really awkward." And Rupert can see exactly what she's doing.
Yeah,
he knows, he knows immediately she's trying to destroy the club from within.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously she walks off, and he pulls Ted to one side, and he's like, but really, you need to do better. And then asks how she's doing.
But he asks it in such ways that he doesn't care.
No,
he wants to know she's suffering.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
he still has control.
He does it in a way where he wants to know that she's like lost without him. And obviously seeing her not doing better, but obviously making strides in the right direction.
I wouldn't say flourishing, but I would say
no. But you can see she's making steps in the right direction for sure. And
it's also, I think at this point as well, they mentioned that the last amount of money they raised was £70,000 or something.
800,000.
800,000, right? And that annoyed me, right? for later on.
For sure. Yeah.
But again, like Rupert has no there's like a small redemption arc that he could have took, but he chose the left hand.
Yeah, like when he asked how she was doing, like it shows like a glimmer of maybe he's not so bad, but then he immediately you're like, oh no, this guy like wants to make sure that she's lost without him.
Yeah.
And
oh god.
I was going to say, we had to mention also, because there's a lot going on in this episode, especially this auction. There really is. There's a lot. This episode is full of things that pay off here, they pay off later.
We got to the bit where Keeley, Roy, and Jamie are talking about the auction. Yeah.
Oh, they're talking about
that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite. Well, you've got to do fingering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good. Because
it's the fact that like, so just before that as well, Jamie spills soup on himself, doesn't he?
And that's another reason why you wear shirts.
Yeah, and Roy says that, and then like that's when like the old lady's like over, like just hitting on Jamie.
Oh, because he's rubbing ice on his nipple.
He's rubbing ice on his chest.
I'll be that ice later on. He's like, it's a date, love.
Cute.
Yeah, it's a date, love. It's not. And then Keely's like, no. If they pay over, was it like 30 grand? You've got to have sex with us.
I thought it was Roy says over 3 grand.
Yeah,
over 3 grand, then you've got to.
They're clearly winding him up.
Yeah,
and Keeley joins in with Roy's winding him up.
Well,
and that's the bit where I'm like, oh, they realised that Jamie's a fucking child.
Yeah,
like
it's true,
and you can manipulate him so easily by just feeding him information.
Even at like earlier in the episode when obviously Ted's like trying to mediate between them, and Roy just turns around and goes, "He's a fucking prick," and he just laughs at it immediately. And every time, like Roy's like going back to Roy's like, "He's a fucking prick," and she just finds the funny side of it. And you can see there, like, she says something to wind them up as well, and then you can see like they're really hitting it off and like realizing, oh, there's actually more, but they've got more in common than Keeley and Jamie have.
Yes. yeah, that's the thing with this episode is that it sets that groundwork for Keeley and Roy.
It does. It moves the story along.
Yeah, it doesn't do it in they're going to end up together sort of way, but it's just like you can see that Keeley knows that Roy is probably a better choice for her.
Yeah.
I never would have pictured those two together before this episode, by the way.
No, but with the way that Ted has planted these seeds in their heads, like it makes sense.
It does.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say Ted because I feel like in this episode, like Rebecca almost mirrors Ted when she's giving Keeley advice.
Yeah, are we at that point yet?
No, we're not quite there, but it was just like something that sprung to my mind when you said that. Yeah, the point we are at is where Ted goes outside looking for Rebecca.
This
is a really brilliant scene.
This is a heartbreaking scene, mate.
It is
one of those things. This is one of those things that got to me.
She's so good.
Because like a couple go past on a bicycle rickshaw, and she's like, they look like fun, and it's like she's never, because I'm assuming it was private planes or helicopters.
Doesn't she say something like Rupert thought they were stupid or something?
Yeah, but then like she sort of breaks down in front of Ted, like, and Ted's just stood there, and I've got the speech here because it was one of those. It's like she's talking about Rupert. She's, that man, he knows me. I used to think his blunt honesty was noble rather than what it really is, which is the cruelest way of hiding his own insecurities. He'd say, wear this, eat this. And I listened. And this is the bit. But now I'm alone. I'm alone, Ted. Just like he said I would be if I left. And I don't want to be alone. And it's fucking horrible.
It is. Oh, she's so good.
She's so good. And Ted just like gives her a hug. And we get like a slow shot of her hugging him back. Like she's kind of getting to Ted.
It's the whole thing as well where she says, as you all know, I'm not a hugger. And then Ted hugs her.
Well done,
because he's doing it to comfort her.
Yeah.
She kind of just like, she tries to fight hugging him back because she's trying to like put up this brave face and this big posterior.
What do you want?
And then she just like goes, oh, fuck it, I'll just hug him.
Ted, you got hugged, Ted.
Yeah. He wants to know if she'll go back in with him, and she says, I'm a mess. I look like Robert Smith after he's woken up from a nap. And Ted agrees and says, yeah, he's a very emotional man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rickshaw pulls up and he goes, should we get out of here?
And Ted's like, we can just blow this off and we can go and get like Chinese food and watch like Heathers on DVD. Like, whatever. He doesn't say that, but that's what I'm assuming is implied.
We know what he meant.
That's probably what.
Because that's the Ted night in, isn't it? Like
it is.
And she's like, no, I've got to go back in and she's like, because I can't let him win. I can't let him defeat me in this, which is my house, right? Because I did all of this. I put all of this together.
Yeah.
And he's just come in and swooped up all the glory, right? And Ted goes, oh, okay. I'll see you inside then.
That feels like a really good turning point for their relationship as well, though. Like,
but
it's
coming up.
There's obviously worse to come from her before she like kind of like comes around, but it's the first time I think she really sees that Ted is a genuinely good man, and it's not like a front, it's not a facade, it's not something that's just going to be used to try and manipulate her later on, which is kind of like the whole like toxic relationship she had with Rupert. And now
Ted genuinely cares about her.
Yeah, literally, he's just a nice person who wants to be her friend. and that's all. That's all it is. It's that simple, and the fact that she's like, she's so like stubborn towards it because she's obviously very like bitter towards everybody. She's literally gone through a very public divorce and she hates the world, which is understandable. But you can see like she's starting to let people in and break the walls down a little bit. And again, peeling back the layers.
This comes into play when she goes to the toilet with Keeley later on as well.
Yes.
Have we missed the bit where we get a Tedism? Where Ted goes, they say youth is wasted on the young. Well, I don't want to let wisdom of age be wasted on you. And then he goes, I just thought of that. I just thought of that as he walks off.
Ted comes.
I think he's talking to Roy at that point.
He is.
Yeah.
Roy says Jamie's a little bitch prima donna.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then Ted's like, "What are you like at 23?" He was like, "I was a little bitch prima donna."
Prima donna boy.
And then there's that bit as well with Nate where he's like, he orders a martini and he's like trying to flirt with the barmaid, and she's into him, and then he has a sip of. Yeah, he has a sip of it, and he just spits it out immediately.
He waits until she's turned away, though, and spits it back out. Because the martini is a hard drink to drink.
And then Colin and Isaac are sat there laughing at him.
Yeah, someone comes in and picks up the glass, though, and goes, cheers.
Walks off.
And he goes, no.
Before Nate can go, you don't want to do that.
But yeah, Nathan and Isaac, we can't bully you anymore because Jamie's told us not to.
But again, it goes.
Roy's told him not to. Roy told him not to.
Sorry, Roy told him. Yeah, because Jamie was supposed to. But yeah,
it goes back to the theme throughout this episode of people showing this kind of like new confidence and something making them revert back to their old self. Obviously, Rebecca with Rupert, but also Nate with Isaac and Colin, where he sees them and he goes, "Oh, lads, please, this is a new suit. Don't get me twice tomorrow."
Yeah,
and get me twice tomorrow is one of those things that burns deep into my soul. Yeah,
but it's one of those things where it's like they were really confident and like kind of showing like this newfound confidence, and something makes them revert back to their old underconfident self. And then obviously when they say Roy basically told them no, and then after Ted says that Ted isn't, and Nate just appears next to Roy.
Yeah, this close.
And he's like, why are you so close to me? Oh, I was going to hug you, but I cowered out at the last second.
What was great, I got to back up when Colin says he headbutted me. I'm still dizzy half the time.
Yeah.
The doctors told me not to drink, and then he just starts drinking.
And he just has a sip.
It's so good. Oh my god.
See, but that's what I mean. Like, were Colin and Isaac supposed to be just like background characters, and they thought, we can flesh them out?
Yeah,
because
why not?
At this point, they're essentially goons.
They are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they I feel like they were like that because they're like Jamie's kind of like.
Again, it's just one of those great things to speculate on.
Because Isaac grows up and comes out of the shell when Jamie leaves the club for a bit. So I think that maybe it's just because they're like trying to impress Jamie, and because he's like the star player, they're just trying to like get in his kind of like in his good book sort of thing, as opposed to they were just background characters who were never meant to be more than what they become.
And it's an embarrassment of riches for them to have two actors who could have just been in the background, but they bring them forward and they crush it. They both crush it. Both these guys do.
Isaac's one of my favorite characters in the later series.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's fantastic.
He kind of takes Roy's spot as being the tough and no nonsense, captain.
Because he takes the captain role. That's the thing. I don't know whether I mentioned this, But have you the footage of basically? I think Danny Rojas, Colin, Isaac, and outside a stop squeaking the toy.
That's the funniest thing ever because you can't see the dog.
Outside, oh yeah, it just sounds like it's me making the noise. Outside, I think it was like an FA Cup final, and they interviewed them as they didn't know who they were. They was like, "Oh, it's 4 lads, let's go and interview them," and they do it in character.
No
so
way.
Danny Rojas, I'll find the clip. It's glorious because it's Danny Rojas going, "Football is life," and FA Cup final, most life sort of stuff, and it's just beautiful. It's a lovely thing. Stop it.
I didn't realize Danny Rojas is in the post-credit scene of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes, he's the barman.
He's the bartender.
He's the bartender that's talking to Venom, isn't he? Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
We recently rewatched that.
I literally rewatched it at the weekend, and I saw the bartender. And I went, I know you.
That's great.
Danny Rojas.
Such a great character. I can't wait till we get there.
I think possibly might be again. We've said this every episode, I think, but that's possibly one of my favorite episodes. Is the curse episode?
It's so good.
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, here, so they're back in, and they're letting Rupert do the auction, and Jamie Tartt is up there. And who is it? The old lady is like the miniature pony breeder of Rotherham. Also, it's a really obscure reference. She's got a heart set on Jamie, and you can see this is Jamie's like lack of confidence in himself. Is that he's like nodding to Keeley to like bid on him. Because he doesn't want to spend the night with an old lady, especially if he's got a finger. Right.
Yeah, she is Cheryl Barnaby, the owner and breeder of Richmond Premier Shetland ponies, played by Susan Tracy. So there you go.
And then there's that other girl. Is it Bex?
She turns out to be New Bex. Yeah.
New Rebecca.
Who I believe her real name is Keeley.
Her real name is Keeley Hazel. Yes.
Yeah. Which is serendipity.
It is, right?
Yeah. She starts bidding on Jamie.
Out of the blue. We've never seen her before. Just starts bidding out of the blue. Yeah.
And they're having a bidding war.
But like Keeley kind of gets defensive at this point. She
gets really jealous and Rupert is an absolute prick about it. Where he says, Keeley Jones, she could have spent the night with him for free, but apparently she wants to spend 25 grand on him. I was like,
jeez.
I'm like, it is a fun bit if it wasn't delivered by you.
Yeah,
Rupert.
No kidding.
But then also when we learn what else we learn, where because this kind of dovetails into Rebecca kind of being getting back in after crying, and Aaron Keeley have that sort of heart to heart in the toilet.
I mean, we've not touched that yet, have we?
No, that's what I mean. These two scenes kind of merge into one another. This is the convergence point of those two scenes.
But
we should be mentioning also that in the background of all this, Higgins has not found a replacement for Robbie Williams. Okay,
no.
Then we know the bit where we find out that Rupert sabotaged the entire evening because again, douchebag.
Well, Ted had that pinned from the start, but it's very true. Scene in the toilet where Keeley's sat there and Rebecca's fixing her makeup.
Yeah, I was going to say there is actually just before this as well, Roy and Jamie, having the kind of bonding moment where Roy tells the story of the old, sort of veteran player that he used to hate at an old club. And
Doug Stashwick.
Doug Stashwick. Yeah.
And
no, I hope he's fucking dead.
Yeah, but it's a really nice. Again, we could talk about mirroring things. This was the scene where I was like, they literally recreate the scene in the last episode.
They do, yeah.
But the difference being to signify that Jamie's grown up. In this scene, Jamie's drinking a blue wicked and Roy's got a beer.
Yeah.
In that scene, they both order the same bit. They both order a pint.
Yeah. It is also the thing of, is it at this point where Jamie says that he used to have a poster of Roy on his wall?
It is, yeah. He says I admired you. I had a poster on your wall, and then he does say why he doesn't like Roy now.
Because you're not the player you used to be. You've won some trophies, and now we're all supposed to walk around.
Kiss your ring.
Kiss your ring.
Kiss your ring. That's it.
Roy says,
I don't know whether Jamie means like in the papal sort of kiss the ring or like bumhole ring, because it's Jamie in it. Like,
yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah. Again, layered.
Yeah,
very layered. Yeah,
but yeah, it's like Roy and Jamie have like a brief kind of like moment of respect for one another there. Only it's very short-lived given what happens next, but there is like that brief moment of kind of like mutual respect for one another, that they either way they want the team to do well.
So did you realize? Yeah. Did you and Doug ever become friends? Roy says, "Fuck no, I hope he's dead." That's a great line. He says, "Well, here's to you dying," and he toasts him.
Yeah.
But it's in that scene as well. It's like Roy sort of bears his soul, and then goes, "But this is why I like you." And then Jamie goes, "Like, yeah, this is why I hate you." And he goes, "Also, you've got to like reciprocate it." And he goes, "It's really well done."
It is.
He does kind of like, because Roy obviously like takes responsibility for like why Jamie dislikes him, and then Jamie kind of like, as soon as Roy does it, Jamie kind of takes it on board a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, I am a bit of an egotistical prick." But then as soon as like it doesn't get any further than that, you can see that Jamie's still too immature to swallow his pride in that situation. Which is what kind of like separates Jamie from Roy.
Yeah.
And in the restroom, as we were talking about earlier,
yes,
is where Keeley and Rebecca have their one-on-one, and she tells Keeley that the girl that was beating on Jamie was Jamie's other +1. And man, you're like, come on. Like, I know he's a prick, but you're going to have to be, really? Keeley's a good girl, I think. I mean, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What's really nice about this is like Rebecca instigates the conversation.
Yeah,
she does.
Like she just sees Keeley and goes, "Thanks for before. I've seen the picture. I don't look terrible." And then like it kind of like it's almost like she's like welcoming Keeley to come talk to her, which I mean, Keeley does. She's literally like, she's one of those people you just need to kind of like engage them and they'll come and talk to you. And that's when like Rebecca not only like tells Keeley about that, but then also like Keeley asks if Rebecca's ever like dated a footballer, and Rebecca's like says, "Well, this is why I wouldn't," and she brings up accountability. And that I think that's like the penny dropping for Keeley, where she's like, Jamie's so immature, and
when I was 19, I dated a 24-year-old footballer. I'm now 30, and I'm still dating a 24-year-old footballer. And like, it's the moment where Keeley goes, "I'm more than this."
And
it's when the penny drops, is that like she's matured, but nothing around her has.
Very true.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And then also like, she can I have some of your drink.
She takes some of her drink. But like when Keeley comes back, and this is kind of how we wrap it up with this episode. Well, just about. Keeley comes back and sees Jamie with the +1. I mean, in front of her, and then blows it off like it's all about me branding, right? Because it's it looks good for me to have two women bidding on me, and I'm like, what an absolute clown! Yeah. What an absolute clown, dude.
But then as soon as she like she introduces herself to Bex, and she leaves. And Keely's like, "Is that your girlfriend?" Then he's like, "No." And then as soon as like Bex leaves, Rupert is like on her like a fly to shit.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
he is like there immediately, like putting the moves on her. And yeah, there's a really like poignant moment after this where obviously Keeley like tries to bid on Roy to make Jamie jealous, and then like storms off. And then after this, Jamie will go and like try and like mend the sort of fence, so to speak, at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's sorry, and she's like, "What are you sorry for, though?" And
before she can know.
Before she can explain about accountability, Roy comes over and he's like, "I didn't appreciate you using me like that. You made me feel stupid." And she says, "I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I made you feel that way." And Roy just turns around and goes, "Thank you, I appreciate that."
Yeah.
And it shows where Keeley realizes Roy's exactly what she's looking for.
Yeah.
And even like she says to Jamie, "Yeah, we're over," and Jamie just goes, "Whatever," and just walks off.
Walk away. Like
it shows
he's still got a crack at Bex, hasn't he? But
yeah, or that she'll come back to him.
Yeah.
Which he does play on later on. But yeah,
what's great is she grabs the 2 bottles and then boom.
Yeah, we get that nice bit where she goes, "Can I take these?" And the bar lady goes, "I don't give a shit, mate."
Yeah. Well,
it's not my money.
I'm paid £6 an hour to cater these things. Like,
yeah, just to go back as well, we didn't touch on the musical act.
Cam Cole.
Cam Cole. Well, this is Ted at Ted's finest, isn't it?
It is. Don't judge
Higgins,
a book.
Higgins, I need you as my ride or die, I think he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Higgins is like, "Oh, okay, I'll come and do it."
I love Higgins' nervous tick where he just like chokes on his own breath. Where he's like,
"Yes." Because he did that earlier in the series where he tells her that he's starting to have a reaction because Ted's not a bad guy and he feels bad for what he's doing.
He does it when Rebecca tells him to publish the photo.
He does.
He does.
There's so many running jokes here.
Jeremy Swift is a tremendous actor. I
he
will
is.
say. If again, not having grown up in Britain, but if you like comedy, you'll have seen Jeremy Swift in everything because he is just he's a great actor, but he's also a very good comedic actor.
I was gonna say there's like a lot of like journeyman like British actors in the show, isn't there?
Yeah. But then Ted's like, "I've got an idea. Let's go and find it out." And they put everyone's kind of laughing because it's just some tramp on the stage.
Yeah, like Rebecca's like, "Oh, I've got nothing else to lose at this point. Why not?" And it's it's like one of the first kind of like signs of her like coming round to Ted's way of thinking, where just give people a chance. What's the worst that can happen? And that's what they do with this, and it ends up where everyone's like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, all the players are dancing, and by the way, it's a really good song.
It is a little rocker. I think it's called "Mother."
Yeah,
the song.
It's a good song. Yeah.
All of the players except for Jamie, who again, like the team go and dance, and Higgins joins in.
I think Sam like tries to drag him up, like your mum at a wedding.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I'm going to sit here with my jacket and no shirt on, and be a cool guy." And I'm like, everyone else is dancing, mate. That's where the cool people are.
And again, very little throwaway moments in time that they don't need to do. But when Cam is struggling with the mic and he goes, "Bollocks," and Ted goes, "What does that mean?" And it goes by really, really fast.
Yeah,
so good.
It's just a real like, and there's the bit with Beard as well where Jane wants to dance,
And he's like, knight to Queen 4, check and mate, and she just walks off.
Yeah.
And this sows the seeds of their like ongoing, offgoing hatred
On again, off
relationship.
again. Yeah. On the borderline,
Cam comes on, he rips the place over there. It's a really good,
Really
good. And this is when we get like the Keeley after the pie. Keeley taking those 2 bottles of wine. Like that, everyone stood outside waiting for limos and stuff to pick them up. But we get Keeley coming out with these 2 bottles, and she just looks at Rebecca, who's just seen Rupert leaving with new Becks.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Do you want to just get really drunk?" And I'm like, I've had those nights where you just want to, yeah. And then she's like, and then we can like rob a bank or something. And I was like, okay, well, rein that in, because like I get you get where you're going, but
it's really good.
You've skipped some steps there, haven't you?
I love the fact as well at the end. So like obviously like Ted and Beard are walking home basically, and at the end Keeley and Rebecca go past in the rickshaw. After the pivotal thing where Ted says, "I heard back from Michelle, she's coming. They're coming over next week," which sets up nicely into the next episode. Which, I mean, we know what's happening. It's going to be a tough watch, that one. But yeah, it's just like a really nice scene with Ted and Beard that leads into that. And it's not like too like over assuming, and then obviously it goes to the fade into black, where
opposite ends of the spectrum, isn't it?
It's true. He says,
but by the same token, I've just realised as well now that Keeley and Rebecca, have just both said goodbye to their former relationships.
Yeah,
and
so the thing that's been holding them back.
That's that's more than 2 bottles of champagne is worth. Like that's wow, that's a bottle of amaretto sort of level of bonding, isn't it? Like it's just dawned on me now that that's what that is.
Yeah, there's also with the Ted and Beard bit, it's interesting because Beard's very like downtrodden about the fact that he feels like he's blown it with Jane, and then Ted mentions about Michelle. Beard's really excited. Ted's quite like solemn about it.
Yeah,
it's like like Beard's like, that's great. He's like, yeah. It's like, is it Ted?
It's all
again
there.
Sprinkling all the kind of doubts about whether everything's okay with Ted, really.
This just occurred to me too. Like, you know how you read a book and then you'll see the adaptation, whether it's a movie or a show, and you're like, it's not as good as a book. They're doing essentially what a book can do, where a book can, you know what I mean? Like by the gestures, by the cadence, by the inflection of their voice, by the raised eyebrow, the tilt of the head, these little tiny elements that in a book, you're being told these things and you can really devour the book and really find yourself lost in that world. Sometimes it's hard to get that on the big screen because it's all money and glitz and glamour and the costumes and whatnot, but they're nailing it here, I think. You know what I mean? Like storytelling's off the charts here.
I mean, I think when we started this, I was like, no review show should be any longer than the actual show itself. And each one of these is an hour.
We blew it.
And I could go longer. I really could. I could drill down to the base of these things. And it's all there. But it's just to give you this fucking dog. Come here. Come here. Why are you so angry?
Anxious. My dog's anxious all the time.
She just wants to play.
I know she does, boss. So it's going to bedtime. Well, it's last week of the night and then bedtime. But yeah, let's put this to bed. It's one of those. I genuinely think this is one of those episodes that really elaborates on, like, the one previous gives you the basis for the characters, and this one explodes them outwards. And this is where everything can go from. Yeah. We've got, like, Keeley split up with Jamie. Rebecca has got this new friendship that she's still not sure about, but she's managed to stand up to Rupert. Like, Ted is doing Ted stuff. Like, we're not sure where he's going with that. It is every like there is no bad episode because every episode feeds off the back of the previous one. Like, I'm so angry at people that gave this like 3 out of 5, and then I read the reviews and I was like, have you watched the show? Are you watching them all individually? Like, have you got frontal memory trauma where you can't remember something that you've watched previously? It all slots in. It's nothing is wasted. There's no wasted motion in this.
No wasted. That's the best way to put it. No wasted.
So everything is there for a reason. Whether you pick up on it or you don't, that's your fault.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one thing with us, like, kind of like going a bit more in depth about it as well, I think that because of like the comedic aspect of it, it makes the more dramatic things a lot more nuanced and a lot kind of like at times subtle, like, as I say, like with some of the stuff with like Ted's facial expressions and Ted's mannerisms, where you only notice it knowing what he's going through on a second watch. Even like in the, I think it was the second episode where Ted like says to Rebecca, "Is that, do you ever have something that makes you feel like home?" And she goes, and looks at the biscuits, and Ted notices, but he doesn't acknowledge it. He doesn't say anything. It's like meant to be planting the seeds in your head as much as it is his. And this, I think that kind of like level of subtext is fantastic with the show, because it's you can either watch it and have like just laugh at like the stupidity of like some of the characters, or you can watch it and get massively emotionally invested in these characters, or you can do both
as life lessons.
Yeah.
It's true. We said this on episode 1. If you don't, or actually on the teaser, we said this.
Yeah.
That if you don't feel this show, you got a hole in your soul, man. I don't know how you're walking around without falling down or bumping into something. It's ridiculous.
But it's almost like with them like saying about peeling back the layers. It's the same with the show. Like there's so much kind of stuff that they just have like under as an underlying thing that you go, oh yeah, what about that? And that's what makes this show brilliant.
It's true. It's true. Well, I think we've reached the end, gentlemen. That is episode number 4. So is that the takeaways everybody has? Is everybody good?
Yeah, I think so.
I enjoy this episode. I think a lot got accomplished, not on this show, but on that show. I think, here too, but I think a lot got accomplished on that episode. I think this is the episode that says, God, there's so much going on here and I'm here for it. Because I've said this before that nothing's worse than a static character. I don't know why. I don't know how people can get into a story where the character is the same on hour 2 as he was in the first 5 minutes. I don't know how is that entertaining to anybody. But the fact that I see that even what seems to be the worst elements of this show are beginning to understand there's a better way to go here, except for Rupert, because he's always a douchebag. But
he's always, but everyone, you need a heel.
You need at least one heel. He's very good at it.
He is.
Very good at it.
Yeah. Is that thing of everyone at this point, we're 4 episodes in? And if you look at people from where they were to where they are, they might not be where they end up, but they're well on their way at this point.
There you go.
The moral of the show is that everyone deserves a second chance, but some people are irredeemable. And that goes for Ted as well. That goes for Ted as well, though. Like he's trying to get a second chance himself, which we will get into later in the series. But obviously Rupert's like the one like unredeemable person who's just no matter even when Ted's like trying to be nice to him, you can see that it's like he's doing it reluctantly
because it's his job. Yeah,
it's his job. He has to. Yeah. Well, there you have it, kids. 4 episodes in the can. We're just getting started. So we got a lot more to go. We hope you guys are here for it. Hope you're enjoying it. As you can see on the ticker, haven't said this publicly, but we'll see it on the ticker here. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at 2 Nations Pod. You can't miss us. Thanks for the follow. We'll follow you back. And we appreciate you. We'll be back very soon for episode 5. In the meantime, for Joe and Jay, I'm Tom. See you next time, kids.